Hey folks, welcome to another Fitness Friday Posi-TIPS with Rachelle. Folks, last time I highlighted the importance, again, continuing this conversation on competitive analysis, folks. It is so important. You gotta know where you stand. And this is actually a bonus episode. So folks, like I said, I will never be this generous again with my intellectual insight on a Fitness Friday or non-Fitness Friday. So take full advantage during this series. But folks, this time I want to talk about the importance of understanding your market, situational analysis. But I want to open up this conversation by highlighting. Can't talk about competitive analysis and the value of competitive analysis without sharing this. Now, some folks have heard this on a non-Fitness Friday, I believe I shared a couple of years ago. And so I talk about the greatest lesson that I went to graduate school at Northwestern. It was actually my second graduate degree. I had a wonderful experience there, but the greatest lesson my Northwestern education taught me was the value of recognizing that we all have strengths and weaknesses paired together. Teamwork brings out the absolute best in any situation. And so when I think about, when I flash back to my first quarter there, and I mentored subsequently I mentored college students for 16 years, and this is something particularly for those who will go on to elite universities and colleges to understand this concept of what I've coined EDP, or the ego deflation period, which will happen sometime in your first quarter, most likely during that first couple of weeks when you're first enrolled. And so for me, I remember I was just whatever, rolled on to Evanston, Illinois. I just completed my first grad degree in Florida, and I had a 3.9 and was a member of 4 different honor societies. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to rock this program in this university just like I did my last one. And folks, that first quarter, even that first week was a challenge, because in that type of environment where you're looking around and everybody is equally competitive, driven, focused, talented, smart, whatever, so in essence, the level of the competition, with all due respect to my previous universities, but the level of the competition went from good or average to elite. And so when you think about, when I draw an analogy to this from your own situational standpoint, as you're listening, particularly to this series where I'm highlighting best practices, and I do that often, this gym or that gym, and then this franchise or this corporate group or this corporate chain, this particular leader of a facility, you may have that same type of ego deflation where you're sitting there thinking, well, I thought my facility was the best, or I thought I was the best of the best when it came to leaders or owners or franchisees or corporate facility managers, whatever the case may be, whatever your role is. All right, and that's the benefit of exposing yourself to different things. When I think about the course of the last 24 years and just even my lifetime, and at least I've been into at least a couple hundred gyms across the world. But I love it. I'll stop where I live in the Motor City, so people will stop and go to different antique, there'll be antique cars or things like that parked on a weekend, and all these different guys are just there hanging out and checking them out. And so I'm the same way with gyms. I'll just randomly stop at a gym and go in and get a tour or whatever. I just expose myself to a lot, and I challenge you to do the same. And that's what I do during these particular Fitness Friday episodes, and I understand why they are popular, particularly with franchisees. All right, because they like that exposure of hearing what others are doing, particularly other franchisees and other corporate chains and things like that. So that is a lesson I'm sure you are learning. And so I just challenge you to hang in there and recognize, like I learned that particular first quarter. We all have strengths and weaknesses. We all have best practices. There's things that we can learn, improve, and grow from others, because that's truly what it's all about. But I want to shift gears here quickly into highlighting the value of a situational analysis. Certainly another wonderful lesson I learned that first quarter. Marketing Management 101, value of a situational analysis. Folks, I don't care what your industry is. You're in a leadership role. You're not even in a leadership role. Okay, but it's true, definitely true for leaders, fitness facility leaders. You've got to understand what's going on in your market. What is happening in your market? All right, how's the economy? Or plants closing down? Or businesses closing down? Or what is going on? Because that is all going to have potential impact on your facility itself. And then those potential people that could be members, that are members, You got to understand what's going on from a situational standpoint, a broad situational standpoint. And when you're talking about a situational analysis that you can't leave out, once again, I'm going to highlight the value of a SWOT analysis. All right, I've talked about this during the marketing series that I did about 3 months ago, but I'll highlight this again. I've highlighted it a number of times in the past, but there's a reason why I keep coming back to this. This is foundational. This is fundamental to understanding and helping you to elevate your leadership game in the fitness industry. So going back to strengths, weaknesses, all right, these are internal. These are things that you have a greater ability to directly control. Okay, your strengths and weaknesses. You may sit here and say, well, I don't know what my strengths and weaknesses are. Look at your online reviews. Look at your Facebook page. Okay, look at your member surveys. Walk around and ask your members. They will tell you. Look at emails, look at calls, what are frequent complaints that you get. Those will give you just incredible insight, raw insight, honest insight into your strengths and weaknesses. And as a result of these and understanding where you stand, where areas of improvement are, and areas of excellence where you're doing well, you can integrate these into your overall business strategy. Okay, externally now, so we're going from internal to external with opportunities and threats. So an example of an opportunity is, we've read about this. I mean, if you read any fitness literature, particularly newsletters and things like that come out on a daily or weekly or monthly basis, you will see the opportunity in the fitness industry. A huge area of opportunity is the decline of the retail segment, the big box segment of stores like Sears and Kmart, and some of those that are closing and things like that. I mean, it's unfortunate on one hand, but at least particularly your larger big box chain gyms are moving right on in those areas, bringing those areas back to life and injecting just life and revenues and tax revenues and things like that into those communities. So that's a huge opportunity. So that's an example. An example of a threat is, and just to utilize, yes, I'm a proud member of Planet Fitness at the PF Michigan Commerce Country Club, but also I know that for facilities not named Planet Fitness is a tremendous threat. Huge threat coming in, disrupting the industry back in 1992 with that low price point. But also, as you've heard me allude to, and I'm going to talk more in detail about the Metro Detroit market, in particular the David and Goliath situation that we have forming here with Planet Fitness and Metro Detroit, and our newest entrant, Crunch Fitness. Crunch founded in 1989. Planet Fitness founded in 1992, a lot of similarities, and so it's just very fascinating. So I'll talk about that then. But when you think about that, all right, so then you've got, well, the Planet Fitness in this area has close to 40 locations here in Metro Detroit, and now you've got Crunch Fitness coming in with a very aggressive growth plan. Coming in, their first facility opened up in Westland, Michigan, one of our suburbs. They now have 3 locations: Dearborn, Michigan, Farmington Hills, Michigan, Clinton Township is next. So they've got a 5-year plan of 28 facilities in this particular Metro Detroit area. So that is an example of a threat, and an unexpected threat, I'm sure, but Crunch Fitness coming in with a great breadth and depth of offering product and machine offerings, as well as personal training, as well as small group training. And so we're going to talk more about that, but more importantly, with a $9.95 base price point. All right, so we're going to talk more about that, and all of a sudden, when you're $10 a month, now there's somebody coming in, a major player that's very popular on the West Coast, the East Coast, and the Southeast, coming in, very popular franchise in those particular areas, coming into a market like this, which is highly competitive. We're going to talk more about that, but that's an example. All right, but it happens to you, and like I mentioned, there's gyms all across the country that were thriving, that were doing well, and then all of a sudden, a major player comes in, or someone moves down the street. I highlighted that in an example last week, where I'm just talking about just the importance of staying on top of things and being observant and paying attention and recognizing when you see things happen, you can devise competitive strategies to neutralize those threats. And I want to close this episode out because it makes a great point, and it's something as it relates to the value of competition and the value and the level and the caliber of your competition in the marketplace. And that is, now for those of you who don't know my whole background, my story, my dad actually grew up in fitness, grew knowing the value of fitness. My dad got his undergraduate degree from Mississippi State University, and his undergrad degree was in physical education. He actually did his work study at the Mississippi State Gym. And so I grew up in that environment, and so got a lot of great exposure growing up. And so I played multiple sports growing up, things like that. So I've always been very passionate, very active. But certainly one thing, and it was years ago when he taught me, he was playing basketball with me, teaching me some of the mechanics of shooting and all of that. I was a Navy baby and was born in Norfolk, Virginia, and so we went back there years ago, and I'm working with my dad. He's giving me some tips and pointers, working with me on some of my mechanics of shooting and things like that, improving all of that. And my dad, I said, oh yeah, see, this is a piece of cake. We don't even need to stay out here long. And my dad said, it's a piece of cake because there's no one guarding you. Think about that. Let that settle in. There's no one guarding you. Perhaps it's just been you in your town, in your facility. So you've owned the market. Now your major player moves in. What do you do? All right. Now you haven't had anyone guarding you. All right. And there's one thing if you've got someone like LeBron James guarding you, or you've got somebody like Draymond Green guarding you. All right. Because you've got LeBron James is certainly much more likely to play by the rules, and he's a leader and the MVP, just considered to be the greatest of all time by many. But then you've got Draymond Green, with all due respect to the Golden State Warriors, who has more of a reputation for not exactly playing fairly, I should say. So when you think about that, all right, some of your chain gyms, your corporate chain gyms that are known to be very high aggressive and high pressure and very sales and profit driven, their approach versus one that may be more laid back and more less pressure and maybe just more, just have a greater ability to just understand that their gym isn't for everyone and just going to not put people in that situation where they're just high pressure and whatever, trying to force people to do stuff. So think about those two different approaches as they relate to the fitness industry and facilities, getting members and retaining members and things like that. Okay, you may be in a situation where you've just been cruising, but then now you've got someone guarding you because you've got a major competitor down the street. Last week I gave the example of the 7 Mile Road location of Planet Fitness. Been there for a long time, then all of a sudden, bam, you got a LA Fitness moving down, I guess it's about a couple miles down the street. And I thought to myself when I saw that, wow, they are gonna feel that, because when you've got these aggressive cultures coming in like that, it's just very, very different, two different diametrically opposed, in my opinion, approaches to the sales process of acquiring new members in the fitness industry. We're going to talk more about that on the sales episode and how to neutralize those threats. But folks, again, think about your market, know your market, understand your market, and the value of situational analysis. Recognize the variability and the variance of the level of competition that you experience, but you always want to do the best you can, control what you can control, and you will be successful. Until next time, thanks so much for your time. Make it a wonderfully fit day.